Good morning. Hi everyone. Welcome to the Deeper Life Movement with another video. Today I am recording a video under another category, which is the prophetic word. This is the second video under the prophetic word category. And this is a word, a prophetic word, a prophecy, if you will, from the book of Amos, who was one of the minor prophets in the Bible, but of course with great wisdom. There are 9 chapters in the book of Amos. If you have the time, go read it. It's not a long book, but it's very fascinating for the lessons and for the prophecies that it brings to us. As usually, one of the main reasons I make these videos, the prophetic word specifically, is because of their relevance to today's world. The prophetic words that come, that are contained and given to us in the Bible, are applicable and are relevant at all times. Why? Because humanity is not going through nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun, as Solomon said. The son of King David. There is nothing new under the sun. We are repetition after repetition throughout the human history. We are going through repetitive lessons. But because we refuse to learn these lessons, we go back and we go back and we circle around and around and even more around. Because the purpose of prophecies is to warn humanity to stop doing something that they are doing wrong, or to change their ways, or to start something new. The problem with that is we refuse to learn these lessons. We refuse to learn the lessons. We refuse to turn our eyes towards God, because we humans think we are smarter than God. We think we know better now because God has given us a life, and that means we are here, down here, and He's up there, and we have nothing to do with each other, and we need to lead our lives separately from our Creator, and that's it. The good news is God keeps sending us prophets and prophecies to warn us about what we are doing here, so that we don't destroy ourselves, first of all. The bad news is we keep rejecting the messages. We refuse to learn the lessons. We refuse to listen to God's word. And so today I would like to talk about a very specific times in human history, which is what we are going through right now. Not only to bring the message from Amos, the prophecy, and what he tells us to be careful about, and what is going on with humanity, and what is going to happen to us if we continue with the same speed and nonsense that we are walking, but also to understand what it means in terms of our evolution, in terms of our progress, and to be aware as to what is really happening behind what our eyes see. The topic that I've chosen for this video is when a prosperous present leads to a disastrous future. For this message, I will be in the first 3 chapters, Amos 1 to 3, but of course the whole message is relevant throughout all 9 chapters. I will focus only on few chapters. I am not going to read the chapters to you. I will read only snippets and parts of the commentary in the Bible to these chapters that are attached to these chapters, just to paint you a picture as to what is going on in the book of Amos and why is that relevant to today's world, right? Let's start with something very specific to paint the picture here. A few weeks ago, here where I live in the Netherlands, we received a brochure, a pamphlet, if you will, where the Dutch government warns its citizens to start preparing for times of emergencies. That is not necessarily related to times of war, There are many conspiracy theories going around. Yeah, well, they want to scare us and the war is coming towards us and whatever. It's not necessarily for times of war. We have come in a time in history that we don't know where our attacks come from. We no more fight with guns and with bodies. We fight with technology. We fight with information. We fight through digitalization. We fight through many other ways, through economic powers and influences. We fight through lobbying. We fight through diplomacy and espionage. So our threats are not just wars, people attacking us with planes and nuclear attacks. Our threats could be anything. And therefore the government has sent this brochure to prepare its citizens, first of all to prepare us mentally, but also to realize that if something happens unexpectedly, we are not prepared. We have nothing in the house. We don't have matches. We don't have candles. If electricity falls for a few days, you can't. Here in the Netherlands, we don't use cash. We use the machine, we use the card. So if the electricity fails, where are you going to find money to buy your groceries? You need cash in the house. So those are the preparation things that they want us, they're warning us to prepare for. But that is just a little sneak peek into a way bigger problem. The fact that we have reached a point in our human history where we don't feel safe. If your government sends you a brochure like that, then the first thing that you experience is anxiety and fear for the future. Now, where does this relate to the book of Amos here and to the message that I have today? This relates to the economic prosperity that we have and the financial gains and the powers that we have. We have reached a point in human history where we think that if you have economic power and financial gain and influence, then you are safe. Then nothing can touch you. Because we relate and we think that economic power means safety. Safety from disasters, safety from natural disasters, from wars, from whatever. The purpose of this video is to prove that that is not true. The purpose of this video is to break down some illusions that we have in our minds as nations and cultures and societies and individuals about what we truly think power is. And the book of Amos explains to us that when God's judgment comes, when the end comes, our money won't save us. Your money won't save you. Your economic powers won't save you. But the other reason and the other illusion that we need to break here, that I would like to break in this video, is that we are living in some of the most prosperous times in human history. Our economies are booming, financial gain is very well, there is a lot of businesses, companies that are doing well, thousands of companies with earning ciphers that you would be surprised to even hear about what they make in a year, where the general well-being of a human is also much better. Individuals live way better, citizens live better, they have more. We live in a generation where we have more than any other generation before us. However, there's another side of that same coin, which is the insecure times, as I said. We live in some of the most insecure times in the human history. We are being threatened with wars. We are threatened by diseases. We are threatened with poverty, with dangerous ideologies, with political strategies and games. We are threatened with anxiety and depression. We are now entering this season of Christmas, but You probably know that this season is the most depressive season of the year. So there is a big fear of the unknown. And so there is this discrepancy when it comes to our progress and our prosperity as humans and nations. There is a contradiction that tells us on one side, yes, we are doing well. Yes, we are doing well economically, we have a lot. We have a lot on our table, we have enough money, we have houses, we have everything. But no, we are not safe from danger. We are not safe from danger. And what does that picture tells you? It doesn't only tell you that there's a contradiction in our existence as humans and nations and countries. It also tells you that clearly the economic gain and powers and whatever you think you have is not the solution to this. Clearly there's another problem that we are not seeing. Clearly this is not the problem. This is not the problem either. Economics is not the problem and it's not the solution to your wars and conflicts in the world. Clearly. So then what is the problem with us in these modern times that we are living? What are we doing wrong here? That's what this video is all about. Let me start by reading something to you very short about the description that Amos gives about the societies when Amos was called by God to prophesy to the nation of Israel. Israel was on its peak economically. Israel was one of the richest nations. It was doing great. People had a lot. People were rich. They were happy. However, what happened here is when God sent Amos to warn Israel about their wickedness and to turn away from their wickedness, that's when Amos understood that God was about to destroy that country because economics meant nothing to him. It meant nothing to God. It meant a lot to people because of their greed for finances and money, but it meant nothing to God because these people were wicked. They were living wicked lives. They were being evil. They were being evil, and therefore God sent Amos to warn these people to turn away from evil and look towards God, or they would be destroyed as a nation completely. Let me read to you just to paint a picture here as to what he means here. There is in Amos 2 in the commentary section. I am reading now in, let me see, this is the Bible, so that you don't get confused. If you have a Bible and you think I don't see these commentaries, you need the specific Bible. You need the, what was the name? Oh my God. I have a lot of Bibles, so I have to read which one is it. This is the Life Application Study Bible. That means a side of the Word of God and of Scripture, you have underneath comments that tell you what is the Scripture about. So basically they analyze every Scripture, and that is what I want to read. Now, Israel was enjoying peace and economic prosperity, but this blessing had caused the people to become selfish and materialistic as a society. Those who were well off ignored the needs of those who were less fortunate. The people were self-centered and indifferent towards God too. Now, Amos here was speaking to the upper class in particular. This society had no middle class, only very rich or very poor. Outwardly, the rich seemed religious. Yeah, they performed. They observed the necessary rituals. They gave money to charity. They attended worship services and offered the prescribed sacrifices. But these actions were all for show, in order to have influence in the community. Inwardly, these people were greedy and unjust, and they took advantage of the helpless, building them in slavery through their debt. Now, you probably thinking, well, there's no way that this text is written in 750 before Christ, because that's when this book was written. This sounds like you are describing the today's society. I am. That's the whole point. How relevant is this text to the today's societies? Isn't this exactly what is happening in the today's world? Isn't this exactly what is going on with us today? The greed, the materialism. How can I gain more for me? More. How can I steal? How can I cheat on someone, manipulate, deceive to get mine? And then brag around how rich I am. Really? That is the purpose of humanity. That is the purpose of us humans. Superficiality, shallowness, emptiness. A life of no purpose, a life of no meaning. But being pleased by the pleasures of the flesh and of our ego and our pride. That's the purpose of us humans. If you think that's the purpose of your life, then you have understood nothing about why you are here on this planet. You have no clue. I'm sorry if you feel offended by this. You have no clue why you are here. If all of these things is the center of your life. If you are driven only by this. Let me get into the message. I have divided this prophetic word into two parts. I'm going to read you the first part now, and then later on I'm going to read you the second part. Let me have some coffee. For some reason, I enjoy my coffee during my videos more than I enjoy my coffee in silence before the videos. Now, I know, sounds crazy, but hey, just go with it. Okay. So part one of the prophecy, this is an extraction, this whole text that I have as a prophetic word for you is a simplification of what is contained in the book of Amos, the whole 9 chapters. That is why I have divided into 2 parts. Can 2 people walk together without agreeing on the direction? Can nations work together without agreeing what prosperity really means? Are economic powers and digital and political influence, and digital influence for that matter, the main conditions for prosperity? What if solvency and financial stability are used for the wrong purpose? What if any power we know as humankind isn't used for goodness, but it's used for division, confusion, hate, separation, and destruction? Does a nation, country, or a society who prospers economically but becomes selfish and materialistic, self-centered and indifferent, who exploits those in need and ignores the most vulnerable, becomes righteous, or does it become more wicked? Does a nation who watches other nations fall and think on how to benefit from their crisis ever prospers? Does destruction feel the same when it comes at your doorstep? Can we still look away when it's so closely, it stares directly at us and it laughs at our naivety for believing that we are safe and untouchable from any trouble if we have economic power? Does a nation who condemns and excuses another nation for their evil frees themselves from accountability for their own sins? Do we get to excuse our own mistakes when others around us suffer the same one that we have done? Is it maybe that judgment towards others is easier when it's not yours? And when punishment seems away from us, does that mean that we must stay indifferent towards other nations' suffering? Do we ever get away from any kind of evil, or do we just wait for our turn to come? And are we truly prepared for the destructions coming our way? This is the first part of the prophecy. As you can see, this is all questions, because all of these questions are raised throughout all the 9 chapters, because these questions ask for answers. When you raise a question, you must be able to answer them as well, right? And that's what I want to answer here. The main questions that I would like to focus on, that I will answer throughout the video, is only 3. Although there are many raised questions here, but they all focus and they go back to these 3 core questions, which are: is economics and financial gain the main ingredient for prosperity? The second question is, can we really agree what prosperity is? And the third question is, what are the main conditions for true prosperity as nations and countries, or individuals for that matter? In order to answer these questions, we need to touch upon some basics here and some misunderstandings, which starts with because the focus of this video is economic prosperity and power, right? But are we really clear what prosperity is? Do we even agree about the definition of prosperity? What is prosperity? I'm not going to go into long analysis here, because you can go online and check about what prosperity is, but I will mention only the main elements that are defined as core characteristics of what a prosperous nation is. What is prosperity for a country, right? Here are the most elements. Economic strength, that is the first one that is mentioned when you look the word prosperity. Economic strength. Social well-being, personal freedom, good governance, resources and opportunities, and so on. There are also other elements, right? But what took my attention is the fact that the first element that is mentioned in describing prosperity is economic wealth, finances, money. Money. And the second thing that took my attention is the fact that are the countries or the nations that are the richest, that we know as the richest, really the most prosperous ones? If you do a quick scan in your mind, are those countries the most prosperous ones? Because it looks to me like the countries who are the richest on this planet, or the nations who claim to be the richest economically, more wealthy and powerful economically, they are not doing well in the other things. They are not doing well with democracy. They have high levels of corruption. Yeah, human rights are not doing well either. So this raises a very important question here. Does prosperity revolves around money only? Or does prosperity go beyond just money and financial gain? Yeah, that's the first thing we are raising here as questions. Let's talk about a little bit the word prosperity. If we agree that prosperity goes beyond financial gain, that what is prosperity? How do we define it? We live in times, or actually we have built a system that we call capitalism. Yeah. And this system has, of course, its own pillars and its own fundamental and foundational elements and principles. In my opinion, it's based on 3 main elements, which is profit and earning, yeah, competition, yeah, honest competition, yeah, or fair competition, and meritocracy. These are the elements that I think a system of capitalism should be or is based upon. That's how I feel. However, capitalism and humanism should not necessarily be excluding each other. So the core of capitalism isn't to strip away humanism and what we stand for as humans and as people. Capitalism does not mean you should all care about money and drop everything else you are. Drop your human values and your existence and identity as a human. Capitalism does not mean that your life should revolve around financial gain only and the rest should be second-hand. No, it shouldn't. So as you can see, it has nothing to do with ideologies. It has to do with the core principles that we build our societies upon. It has to do with us understanding that financial gain and economic wealth is not the main ingredient to build strong and good societies. It's not. Why? Because economic power and influence is not the measurement for prosperity. It is an indication to economic progress. That's it. It's an indication to economic progress, not to prosperity. Prosperity is a way broader concept that is also attached to our human nature, that is attached to our values and virtues as humans, not only to our pockets, not only to our bank accounts. The second point here is that I want to make in this big misunderstanding about prosperity and what prosperity truly means to a nation or a country is the factor of humanism. In my perception, having financial control and powers and economic power, whatever you think you have there, influence, without the factor of humanism means nothing. It means nothing. Why? First of all, because I said capitalism and humanism don't have to be separate things. They go together. They go together. Personally, I rather have that the humanism prevails and the capitalism is on the lower than the other way around. Because capitalism is a system. If you make capitalism, because the capitalism itself is not wrong, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. As a system, it works, is perfect. The problem with that is what we have made of capitalism. We have stripped humanity, we have stripped humanism and values and virtues and everything that we stand for as humans. We have stripped it out of the picture and we have made capitalism all about money, all about about economic influence and financial gain and financial powers, which is not true. So, capitalism does not mean the lack of solidarity and the lack of contribution and the lack of cooperation among nations, among countries, among people. Yeah. When we strip human values out of the picture, because that's what we are doing as modern societies, aren't we? We are stripping human values away. Human values are old-fashioned now. They're not interesting. They're not trendy. So when you strip these human values and standards and virtues away, and we hang on only onto financial gain to prove that we are prosperous, to prove that we are powerful, to show everybody that, oh, how much do we have? So then what do we become? What does a nation or a human or an individual or citizen, whatever you call them, become when you strip them, or when he strips himself out of the human values and virtues, and all that he hangs on is financial gain, which he can lose? If you lose the money, it's not the end of the world. You'll make it again. But what happens when you lose your values? What happens when you lose your core identity, which is your virtues, who you are? Who you are to God too, but also to yourself. You lose your existential essence to who you are. The third illusion or misunderstanding that I would like to touch upon here is the illusion of contribution versus gain. Contribution and gain is not the same. Yeah? The principle that I love about this balance or relationship between contribution and gain. First of all, they can go together, but no, as humans, we like to divide things to extremes. You either contribute or you either gain. Yeah. I have to gain for myself first, and then I can contribute to you. That's the first lie we tell ourselves. The second lie is that the world was built on money. What do you mean, contribution? What do you mean, contribution? The world was built on processing money, faster, quicker, more. That's what keeps the world going, money. Really? I suggest you open the history books then and read about what real contribution in the world is. You will find out that the world was built upon contribution, not money. Yes, the money was necessary, but the contribution, and contribution is everything, involving money and not involving money. Contribution is everything to do with money and with the absence of money. The world was built not only on contribution, but also on solidarity and cooperation. Have you seen what is the level of solidarity that we have as humans, but also as countries with other countries? Cooperation. All of these three elements are based on the same principles. You should care for others, not to gain from them, but to help them. You should care for others because you are a human first, before you are a millionaire or whatever you call yourself. You are a human. And whoever thinks that contribution and solidarity with others and with other people's pain and cooperation with them is wrong because you're not gaining anything out of it. Those kind of people, those learn the hardest lessons in life, because life and God puts these kind of people, or nations for that matter as well, in situations where they have to learn the hard way what true contribution is. God brings to such people through calamities, through disasters, through wars, through whatever they go through. He brings them into a position where they have to beg for contribution from others, so that they understand why contribution is so important. So that they understand that when you have a lot of money and financial gain, but you care for nobody else, trouble will come at your door, and it will knock on your door sooner or later, and you will have to deal with it. And no, your money, my friend, won't save you. Trust me on this. Your money won't save you. Here's another misunderstanding or illusion about prosperity. I have made a short video on my TikTok account, also on Instagram, about a very interesting concept in the African culture, which is called sawubona, which is a philosophy of life about the way they greet each other in that culture. And it is based and rooted on the philosophy of life about the fact that the I is not more important than the we. That is also one of the principles that contribution shares as a principle, as a main rule. The I is not more important than the we. That means this particular philosophy is based on the fact and on the understanding and interpretation that we cannot exist without each other's contribution, without each other's help, without each other's care. In the Western countries, we have reached the point where we have become so isolated and alone and individualistic that we think as long as I have money and finances, I don't need anything and I don't need anybody either. The problem with this picture is that we build our societies together. And whether you like it or not, whether you live in your little bubble and in your little circle there and you don't care for anybody else, you do impact others directly or indirectly. Whether you are aware about it or not, you do impact others. You impact others through action, but you impact others through lack of action too. By being indifferent, that's also how you impact the course of our societies. That is also impact. You might not be noticing it and feeling it because you think, I'm not doing anything. That's the problem. We build our societies together. If nothing else, in these economic wealthy times, the I has separated us even more. This whole fight of me first, it has separated us more. It has made us enemies with each other. Because we are too busy to prove each other a point, which is, I have more than you. That means I'm better than you. That means, no, instead of helping you, I am going to brag and I'm going to rub it in your face how much I have. Really? That's the purpose of your life? There is a great quote from Desmond Tutu who says that our humanity is inseparable from each other. You can separate people based on their financial gain and social status all you want, but as humans, we are fated to be together. We are in the same place. We are fated to cooperate, to collaborate, whether we like it or not. When times of destruction and war comes, when this danger that your government is warning you about comes to your door, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to run to your neighbor. That's what's going to happen. You're going to run to your parents. You're going to run to your children to protect them, to plan together, to see who is in need. You're going to go out the door and ask people and listen who is screaming for help. That is what society is. That is what we are as humans. When somebody is in need, you are not called to sit home and count your money. That's not how we operate as humans. We are connected in our humanity. We are rooted in our values and virtues to connect with one another. That is our purpose as humans. To progress together. That means collectively. And no, that does not mean you should care for others more than you care for yourself. Which is another misunderstanding. Let me read something which is very interesting. I was not planning to do this, but I have something written here that I think is very applicable here. One of the misunderstandings that we have about solidarity and cooperation and contribution towards others, right? It's not only that it needs to bring us money first and then we can help others, right? But it's also the fact that we need to give others before we give to ourselves. However, the Bible teaches us the following: learn to put the needs of others before your wants. Not your needs, before your wants. And that clarifies a very important point here, which is nobody is asking you to leave yourself aside and sacrifice yourself to help others. That's not the purpose, that's not the philosophy either. But you should put the needs of others before your own wants. Because if you want something, it's not necessarily something you need, is it? You want it, but you don't need it, so you can give it away, right? That's the whole difference from wanting and needing here, which we confuse, right? I had another principle here. before I get to the second part of the prophecy. All we need to do as humans is to share and to care. That's it. Nobody is asking you to give all your money away, your wealth away, and to go and whatever. All you need to do is share what you have, a part of what you have, with those in need, and to care about others. As a human, you don't need accumulations to care. That is another illusion that we live in. I need to have a lot of money to help others, because what do you mean? I can't help you. There are many ways to help people. There are many ways to help people. It's not always financial gain, which dissolves the whole illusion of finances, does it? Whenever human history and human race has been through wars, then you understand what real contribution and real solidarity and real prosperity is. There is a great movie, I watched a while ago, so I don't know which one is it, but there is a great movie about the Second World War, when the Jewish people, they were brought by the Nazis in a big concentration camp, and then there was a little boy going around. He had money. He had taken all the money from his house with him, and then he would go around and he would give money to the people. And there was one Jewish old man. He looked at this guy and he said, "Why do I need this money for? What do you think am I supposed to buy with this? I cannot buy my freedom with this money, can I? I cannot buy my freedom with this money. Why would I need? I'm here in a concentration camp, ready to be executed or brought into a gas chamber. What do you think this money is going to buy me?" Which teaches us a big important lesson, doesn't it? That in times of calamities, in times of destruction, in times of natural disasters, your economic wealth might help you, but it won't save you. That's the point. What saves you is solidarity, cooperation, unity, fight for justice, truth. Those are the things that will save us. Part 2 of the prophetic word. When economic prosperity brings corruption, greed, insecurity, injustice, and only leads to more cruelty, when we forget or ignore what is the right thing to do and lose sight of what's important, when we merely participate in solving our issues and everything becomes a performance, a ceremony or a ritual, when we act just enough to apply pressure but not enough to tackle the problems at their core, are we truly moving forward? Or maybe we are joining a massive hypocrisy and we become a part of a global circus trend. When we stop applying truth and we settle for impressions, outward validation, fallacy and falsity that only produces more of the same, what are we really producing here? What are we really building? When we refuse to act from a place of good intention and we make everything a transaction, when we value invention, economy, politics, ideology more than our humanity, don't we lose the meaning and purpose of it all? When we operate from the wrong intention with malicious ideas, don't we just become part of the trend, a number among many? When we repeatedly and persistently make mistakes and we refuse to turn away from distraction, immorality, when we deny the core values that hold us together, don't we just lose our identity? When human compassion becomes outdated and old-fashioned and laughable in the eyes of many, What do we call ourselves then? Rich, famous, happy? What is a human who loses his core identity for financial gain called? And what is he called when he gains the world through deceit, suppression, violence, manipulation towards others, but he loses himself? This picture comes from Amos 5, chapter 5, which is a very fascinating chapter. I have the whole chapter is beautiful. You should read it because it describes in details the state and the condition of our societies today. But this picture, the second part of this prophetic word, is to raise an important question, which is, if you have all the economic wealth and power and financial gain in the world, but you lose your humanity, then what are you? What do nations become and countries become if they lose humanity for the purpose of gain? Or when they use their economic prosperity for the wrong reasons, instead of helping, as Amos said here in the beginning in the description of the society, when they use it not to help others, but to suppress others for more gain. What do we become? What do we call ourselves? Because we are certainly not humans anymore, are we? So what do we call ourselves? Evolved species? Modern societies? What does that really mean? What does modern society mean? Does it mean that all these values that we strip away and we throw away and we see as laughable and stupid, yeah, that makes us modern? This second part of the prophecy is not as much as it's clarification about misunderstandings or perceptions that we have, like I did in the first part, but this is about the lessons that we refuse to learn and the lessons that Book of Amos teaches us. And I want to share them with you. I might be reading from time to time because I've made too many notes here, but that's okay, and then I'll elaborate. The first lesson about us humans from this prophecy is the calamities and the threats and the pain and the hurt and the suffering or the wars that we are going through. They are not a coincidence. And they are not self-inflicted or inflicted by others or by enemies. Whatever is happening on this planet right now that is producing pain for us is a punishment from God. That was also the warning through Prophet Amos to the nation of Israel. You need to understand that everything, most of the times, is a punishment for what we are doing on this planet. God punishes us in many ways. He punishes us individually. He also punishes us as nations and countries too. One of the ways to understand this is natural disasters. Natural disasters, calamities, things you can't control as a human. You can't even explain sometimes what is going on. There was a big earthquake in Japan a few days ago. There was a warning for tsunami. There are calamities happening in the United States. for years that destroy entire cities, cost the country millions. There are diseases, new diseases that we've never heard of. I was listening to someone a few days ago saying that the rate of heart attacks and of diseases has drastically increased the last few years, and it's probably because of the corona and because of the injection and of the what we went through in 2020. Really. Let me tell you what people are. People are so delusional. People are so delusional. They will invent all kinds of conspiracies to explain their calamities and the pain that they go through, except the truth, which is they are being punished for the way that they live. For the way that they live. Why are they taking off all of these new diseases and heart attacks and whatever people are going through suddenly? Because you have become more evil. That's why. You have become more evil. The more the evil, the bigger the punishment. But people will invent and will make up stories to explain their calamities and their pain just so they don't face the only truth, which is God is punishing us. We are all being punished. Make no mistake about that. So, the message here is that the more we derail from our humanity, the more we turn it around and we make it all about the money and financial gain and powers and espionage and lobbying and stealing and manipulating, the more pain we will endure. The reason that the world is not getting better but it's getting worse because we are getting worse, we the humans. That's it. Don't go into philosophy into that, and don't make it about conspiracy. That's it. It's simple. It's very simple. You can make conspiracy all day long about the fact that the corona injection and the whatever, it caused your problems and your illnesses. It didn't. It didn't. It's your own wickedness. You are being punished for your own wickedness. That's what it's causing your illnesses. And unless we understand this, we will keep being punished. Because we humans refuse to learn the lessons. We don't like truths. We don't like warnings from God. We kill our prophets who come to us to warn us for our own benefit, to help us. So, that's the first message here, the first lesson that we refuse to learn from this prophetic word. The second lesson that we refuse to learn our financial security is an illusion. Why is it an illusion? First of all, because we think if you have money, you're safe. You have everything else and you don't need anything else. If you have financial gain, then that means that you are automatically doing well in every area of your life. Well, you don't. Sorry to burst the bubble for you and disappoint you. You're not. And we see that all around us, don't we? We see wealthy and rich people who are completely shallow and empty inside. They mean nothing to humanity. They mean something to their own pocket. They go around and brag about their money, but they mean nothing to humanity. They have no contribution to humanity. And they mean nothing in the eyes of God either. That's it. The second illusion about financial gain here is that financial gain will save you from God's judgment. That when the day of judgment comes, where you have to face God and tell Him how you lived your life, and what you did for other people, and what you did to other people, whether that was good or bad, your money will save you. Well, again, sorry to disappoint you. Human standards and the human nature are fickle. The only standard about everything that we do in this life, including our humanism and the way we should gain and make money and financial gain and whatever we think we're doing, economic wealth, and the whole purpose of prosperity is based on God's standard. Why? Because human standards and humans are fickle. Humans are not stable. They are not stable in their standards. They are not stable in their ideas. They are not stable in their beliefs. They are not stable in their ideologies. We change our minds every day. Every day we go to bed with one idea and belief, and we wake up with a totally different one. The only one who hasn't changed from the very beginning of human history is God's standard. God's standard. Which is why we humans need to use God's standard to define and to shape the values and to shape the standards and to shape what we build here on this planet. Not the other way around. Our standards do not stand. That's why we create so many problems around us, because we keep changing our mind every day. So, God's standard about what's right and wrong, God's standard about what humans are, God's standard about what value and virtue is, God's standard is the plumb line. It's the plumb line, is the only measuring unit of how life should be lived for all of us. And because we don't agree on that, everybody goes in their own direction, don't we? Everybody's busy with their own thing, and everybody is debating as to how right they are. My ideology is more important than yours. I am the right one and you are wrong. And I'm going to prove to you that I'm wrong. A plumb line, you know what plumb line is? Builders use a plumb line, that is a taw, with a piece of metal in the end that goes like this. But what they do is they use that plumb line to measure how correct and how in line the wall has been built. Because if the wall is not rightly built, it will fall. That's the whole purpose of our societies too. If the foundation of building our societies is faulty and is fickle and is not stable and is not checked according to the plumb line that defines where the balance is, we will fall. We stand on fickle foundations. Our economic wealth is not the foundation. Our financial gain is not the foundation. Our political ideologies, strategies is not the foundation, because they always change and they lose the balance. We lose the balance. We lose the balance of how life should be lived. We have lost every kind of balance in our lives. Have you noticed how messy the world has become? We have no clue, we have not the slightest idea anymore what we are doing. We don't know, because the balance are lost, because the foundations are not strong. Why? Because the only strong foundation and the only standard that is correct and that should be applicable in everywhere and everything we do is God's standard. And we refuse to do that. We simply refuse. Every time God sends us prophets, even in modern times He sends us prophets to warn us, to tell us that's not the way, you should go that way. No! I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's what humans are. Fickle. Another lesson that we refuse to learn. A nation or a country or an individual that is spiritually corrupt will never prosper. And when I say prosper, I don't mean financial gain again. I mean the prosperity that I explained in the very beginning. This big, notion, this broad notion of many things, and not just financial and economic wealth. A nation that is spiritually corrupt will never be able to prosper. I don't care how rich your country is. I don't care. Why? Because richness is not the main component to prosperity, is it? So, nations who are spiritually corrupt never prosper, no matter how much economic power they have. They are on the path of self-destruction from their own corruption, erosion of values, lack of solidarity, lack of vision and true leadership, compromised standards, and lack of identity. That's it. That's the real erosion that we have in our countries. It's not the poverty killing us. There are many countries out there who are less economically wealthy than others, and they are under the impression that the biggest problem that they have is that they are poor. Because if you give people money, then you progress. You progress as a society. Really. Because in my impression, if you give people a lot of money, they turn around and they use it for evil. That's my impression. Whether you are a rich country or a poor country. The problem is the human, is not the money. Because the money has no value unless it is in the hand of the human. And so when that human gets that money and uses it for evil instead of helping others, then what kind of prosperity are you talking about here? You might be prosperous economically, but you have failed as a human. You have failed as a society. You have failed as a nation. So, being economically wealthy without any of these other components, it means nothing. It means you are headed on the path of self-destruction. It means your only value is your pocket and your financial and your bank account. That's your only value. That's it. You have nothing else to offer. You have nothing else to offer as a nation. You have nothing else to offer as a country. Our biggest downfall is our own systems that we have built. Whoever thinks that their biggest enemy is another country, another nation, another neighbor, politics, their government, I personally don't agree with that philosophy. I think our biggest problem and the downfall of all countries is the systems that they have built. Let me tell you something about human hypocrisy. Humans will complain all day long about the systems that they are serving every single day. So basically, that same human that complains and trashes their government is the same human that will go to work and will try to steal something and benefit something from there. So that same human is basically feeding that corrupted system, and then when he leaves his work or his house or his wife or his job, he goes out and he complains about that system. Yeah, that is human hypocrisy. And we love it. We love it because we will do anything but change. We will do anything, whatever it takes, even becoming Delulu, whatever kind of conspiracy theory it takes for you to convince yourself that you are not the problem. You're not the problem. That the systems that you have built and that you contribute every day, well, that's not your problem because no, you don't build the system. Your government does. Yeah, your government does build the system. Your politicians, they build the system. You don't. You are innocent. You are the victim. And that is how nations go down. That is how countries collapse. Yeah? By this very rule. So, our biggest downfall will be as a result of our own systems that we keep complaining about and that we keep serving at the same time. Yep, the real monsters in our closets are not the enemies from outside. No, they're not. It's our own systems that we refuse to face. We refuse to face. We refuse to face the reality. We simply refuse. The next illusion here is, which is I think the final one. The final one. The biggest opponent we have ever had as countries, nations, humans, whatever, are not wars and problems and diseases. It's God's wrath, God's judgment, God's wrath. In the end, our biggest opponent aren't the threats and wars towards our countries. It's God's wrath and His judgment about the failure that we have become as humans. As humans. So, when Judgment Day comes, God won't ask you how much money did you make. He will ask you, what kind of human were you? That's the only question you're going to have to answer before Him. The reason that people underestimate God's wrath is because they don't believe in God. And people are so delusional that they think if they don't believe in God, that means God does not exist. What do you mean? I decide what exists. I decide what to believe in. Really? Are you sure that what you believe in is the truth and the reality? Or maybe you are believing your own bullshit. Because that's also one possibility, right? That's also a possibility. A few final thoughts, because I don't want to make this video too long. We have become a disgrace. Stop sugarcoating and camouflaging as to how we have prospered, because we can use an iPhone now who can be updated and produced in a new version every year. Technology, IT, digital environment, economy, yes, they are big parts of the same picture, of the bigger picture. They are given to us to use them for good, to use them to prosper in a good way. But when you use all of these things for evil, to attack others, to destroy others, to manipulate others, and when you use them in the wrong way, and when you make all your existence as humans about economic wealth and power, then you lose the core to your humanity. And that is where, this is what we are living in right now. This is the modern societies that we are living in. We are throwing everything away that is valuable to a human being and making it all about superficiality and shallowness. The biggest problems we have in the world are not poverty. The biggest problems come because we refuse to do what's just. We refuse to do what's the right thing to do. For many reasons, because that takes a whole another video to analyze this. But I'm not going to get into that now. Here's one of the most important questions that I've had throughout my life. If the countries we live in are so wealthy economically and financially, and we are doing so well, and if our financial gain and wealth and economic power is the ingredient, the main ingredient to our happiness and to our prosperity, then why aren't we happy? I'm calling it happiness. I don't believe in happiness. I think it's a human invention. It's nonsense. But let's use the word happiness. Why aren't you happy? Why are not people happy? We have more than anybody else, we have more than our parents ever had. And we're not happy. The level of depression and anxiety is skyrocketing. The level of deceit and foolery in this world is skyrocketing. The level of evil is skyrocketing. So what is going on here? Because if economic wealth is the main ingredient to your happiness and to your prosperity and well-being as a nation and country, then why aren't you happy? Because you are still doing the wrong thing, that's why. As long as we will keep doing the wrong things, wrong choices, wrong decisions, as long as we will keep destroying what others have built for us before us, and discard everything as old-fashioned and whatever, well, because it doesn't fit our nonsense anymore, does it? So it's old-fashioned now, it doesn't fit my delulu. Unless we start doing the right thing, unless we start getting our nonsense together as humans, to understand that our humanity and who we are in God's eyes and who has He created us to be and to live as, and to start using that plumb line that defines everything, every kind of standard, we will never prosper. Forget about it. Consider this as my prophecy outside of the message. We will never prosper. There will always be wars. There will always be poverty. The biggest problem of poverty is not the money. The biggest problem of poverty is the injustice. It's the injustice. And as long as we will keep doing the unjust thing, even though we know what is the right thing to do, because that's the wicked part. This is the sick part about humans. We know what is the right thing to do. Oh, we do. We do. But we don't. We don't choose for the right thing. We don't choose for what's righteous and what's good. We don't choose to use our wealth and health and economic gain and financial gain to help others. We have enough for ourselves, but we still refuse to share. Because human greed has taken over. Human greed has taken over. And so you can be the richest country in the world and the most prosperous country in your own eyes and in the eyes of everybody else, because, oh yeah, you have built your reputation now, right? That's what most countries do. They have reputation. But that's not who they are. Reputation means nothing. Unless that reputation matches to who you truly are. It means nothing. It's an image that crumbles. It crumbles in time. So, I am grateful for the prophets like Amos, and for the gift that God has sent to us through them, the gift of knowledge and wisdom and prophecy and warning about what is happening to us and with us, and what is going to happen to us if we keep being stubborn about our foolish ways, which means being indifferent is a choice. Staying ignorant in your own foolishness and stupidity, it's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. That is why when we all face Judgment Day, God won't be impressed with your tears. God won't be impressed with your excuses, because He has sent you His prophets thousands of years ago. And those same prophets, they live still today with this word, through the Word of God, through Scripture. And that we have to do is to read and do the right thing. But when we refuse to do all that, no prosperity, no accumulation in the planet Earth or in the universe, whatever you think you have gained in this life, will ever save you. It will never save you. I will leave you with this. And since we are entering the holiday season, I'm taking this opportunity to wish everybody a great holiday, a great season. This is the perfect season to give. This is the perfect season to be solidaire, to collaborate with others, to help others, to take care about others and of others, and to also reflect. I personally take December. I wasn't planning on making this video. I was called to make it, and I'm making it. But I wasn't planning to make this video because I always take December off. My entire month of December is reflection. Which means I reflect upon everything I have done throughout the year. From the beginning of the year until the end of the year, I reflect upon my mistakes, upon my choices, upon my decisions, upon my wishes. It's not a list. It's not a strategic move of planning for 2026. That's not what I do. That's not what I do. I don't plan long term. I plan short term because I know God's plans are not my plans. So, it doesn't work that way. But no plans, but reflection. Reflection about what I need to improve in the next year and how can I help and what can I do to live my life righteously, but also in a meaningful way, in a way that fulfills me as a human. Which is why people always say, live full, die empty. Live full, die empty. Whatever accumulations and wealth you think you have, unless you are contributing to something more meaningful than your own selfishness and your own nose, and your own ego and pride, then you haven't contributed to anything meaningful. You have contributed maybe to the well-being of your family, which is good. That is also important. But you have not contributed to anything bigger than that. So I hope you all have a great holiday season, and most importantly, that you are healthy and that you take good care of yourself and one another, that you live your life with the right priorities, and that you also are careful with what is going on around you. If your government warns you to do something, trust me, you should listen. Leave aside your conspiracy theories and nonsense. Life is not conspiracy. Life is reality. Yeah? Does the danger exist that someone might attack your country? Yes, it does. What does that mean? That means you need to be prepared. Whether you believe in conspiracy or not, you need to be prepared. Because when somebody attacks you and your country, they won't care about what you believe. The attack is real. The destroying and the damage on human lives is real. It's true. It's realistic. It's reality. That is what you need to focus on. And the question here is, can you allow and can you afford to play with your life, with your security, with your children's life and their future to prove somebody a point that your conspiracy is real or not? Don't be foolish, people. Focus. Dangers are real all around us. All around us. So, take care, and I will see you in the next year, 2026, with new exciting things. Have a good day, everybody. And by the way, thank you for watching. Thank you for following. I will make a separate video to thank everybody on social media for their support. But this is for the YouTube viewers. Enjoy the holiday season. Bye.